Hey guys, good morning. Happy Friday. It's Daryl here at 7 a.m. on the dot here in Connecticut on the East Coast. And I've been working out for the last 2 hours, and I've been thinking a lot about Anjanette Young. The case from 2 years ago, a African-American woman in Chicago. I'll get into that in a second. But, and I've been thinking for days about this and what I would say if I talked about it. I think there's two kinds of people really in this country. There's people that would look at that video and really, some people might even laugh and think it's funny. I know there's people out there like that. There's people that would look at it and not really they'd make excuses. They wouldn't feel any empathy for Anjanette, Miss Young. Maybe because they don't look similar to her, or they don't live in the area. Maybe they're different economic level or different race or whatever, and they just don't feel the empathy. And then I think there's the other percentage of the country, like me, that looks at that. And like I said, I grew up, with my mother and my sister, and around a lot of women. And the first thing I think of is if that was my mother or my sister. The race thing honestly doesn't even come into my head into more in the video, and I'll get to that in a second. I almost didn't want to talk about it because it felt so personal. There's one thing though that just got to me that I want to talk about. So the problem here is this video they were trying to cover it up, to not let it out. Now that's a problem. When liberals, the progressive Democrat, us people, the left, talk about reorganizing police departments, I think it's stuff like this that we're talking about. More transparency and more sensitivity. This is obviously a problem here. And I don't know a whole lot. Like I said, I'm a layman on this stuff, but I think it's above the police department when it goes to the prosecutors and the people above the police that make these decisions with public relations, the mayors and whatnot. I think they have just as much guilt to bear in this. Now, when I watched that video, there was one thing that just made me livid. There's a couple things that made me livid. Hearing that woman's voice and the hysterical, terrified sound of her voice just kills me. It hurts me to watch that video. It's hard to watch. I'm scared. You could hear the fear, and you could just hear, it's more than fear. It's just pure, confused, hysterical, being terrified. This is the thing that bothered me. One of the things that bothered me the most, though, is I don't know what rank this officer was, but he went up to her and he was trying to talk to her, and he said, "There's no need to yell. There's no need to yell." They kicked down the door in the wrong house. This poor woman was completely undressed in the privacy of her home. They videotaped this, 10 male officers videotaping her. It's like an assault. It is an assault on her. The other thing, the way this police department acted, they took the information from a snitch, never checked up on it. Well, let's be proper and call him a CI. That's the proper term. Never checked up on it. And the guy they were looking for had a GPS anklet. He was down the block. It would have just taken 5 minutes to do the proper work. Now, I don't like second guessing other people in another profession. Especially when I'm a layman. I don't know what I'm talking about, but this is too much. This is just too much. For this officer to say there's no need to yell. And And she's not yelling. She is hysterical. She is terrified. The level of pure fear and confusion is palpable. And of course, I ask myself this, and there's really no way to answer this question. If this was, let's just say, if this was a petite, blonde, blue-eyed girl, a small little petite girl, and the same thing happened, do you think they would have approached it the same way, the police? Do you think they would have taken as long to cover them up? It's because one officer puts just a waist-length coat on her back, so her front is still completely exposed here. And again, when I say this, I immediately think of my mother and my sister and my family members and girls I've dated. And how I would feel if this happened to somebody I cared about and loved. It would kill me. The fact that they tried to hide this for 2 years, the fact that they didn't do the simple legwork to find out the right house, makes me very glad that Joe Biden is now president. Hopefully he will follow through with reorganization of the police department. I'm one of those people that agree that defunding the police I don't think it's a beneficial term. I really don't. I think reorganizing, refunding, redistributing, whatever you want to call it, more visibility, being held accountable. That's what I think is important. But I can't, it's one of the videos I can't watch this and the other video I talked about the other day. It's a funny thing with these videos too. Here on YouTube, I'm still on a learning curve. As you guys know, I do have some advertising on my channel. And I'm still learning how to go about this. Because I don't know if just mentioning names is a check from YouTube or not. So we'll find out together if you see advertising on this video or not, because I try to watch what I say and I try to be respectful and play by the rules. But anyway, Anjanette Young, if I were in a jury, if I were any type of jury where we're talking about compensation right now, to compensate her for that, I don't know if you can compensate. I mean, I could easily see how Miss Young could have PTSD from this. Without a doubt, I don't know how she'd be able to sleep in her own apartment at night. You know, I could easily see this being a very valid case for a large settlement. I would have no problem giving her whatever she wanted out of the taxpayer money to make up for this assault. This assault by the police officers, and then trying to cover it up on top of that, and their handling of the case to begin with, of not even checking to see whose door they're kicking in. It makes me glad that hopefully things will change from the path that we were on with Donald Trump, and his police officers are always right, authoritarian, law and order. Because let's face it, in Trump world, this whole thing, this whole incident probably wouldn't have been a big deal. Hey, the cops are just doing their job. They make mistakes. They're human. I'm guessing here, but I'm willing to bet that's how people in Trump world would look at that. Anyway, just some thoughts today. You guys have a good Friday.